Look around. Men everywhere are shouting for recognition. Online debates, workplace confrontations, arguments in relationships, all crying out for respect, desperate to be seen, to be heard. But here's the truth. Those who truly get what they want aren't yelling. They're not trying to convince anyone. They're silent. And yet, they command attention. The man who speaks less but holds weight in every word, he's the one people watch, the one they fear. This isn't some poetic philosophy. It's survival. It's a strategy. It's power. And that's where Stoicism comes in, not as a relic of the past, but as the most efficient and ruthless operating system you've probably never fully applied. Stoicism is about domination, not over others, but over yourself, your reactions, your focus, your energy. Every time you argue, try to explain yourself to people who've already made up their mind. You lose. You give them access to your weaknesses. But when you choose silence, the rules change. You shift the power dynamic. They talk. You watch. They lash out. You analyze. They expose themselves while you stay unreadable. You're no longer at their mercy. You're quietly pulling the strings. Think back. How often have you left a conversation wishing you'd said less? Feeling like you handed someone access to your mind and they twisted it? That's the trap. Trying to win arguments in a world where most people aren't listening to understand, but to control. And silence? Silence terrifies people. It forces them to face their own guilt, insecurity, and fear. You become a mirror, and they hate what's staring back at them. That's your weapon. Your silence doesn't mean weakness. It sends a message. I'm not responding because I don't operate on your level. In this video, we're going to explore 4 cold, hard truths that will reshape how you think, move, and speak. Or, more importantly, when to not speak. This isn't about becoming louder. It's about becoming more dangerous. A man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't need to explain, who's too busy building a kingdom in his mind to seek validation. Support this channel if this message resonates. Every like, comment, and share sends this to the men who need it most. If you're ready to live by silence as a code, drop a comment. Silence is my strength. 1. Master yourself. First, look around. Every day, you see men raising their voices. Online, in relationships, at work. They shout to be seen. They argue to feel respected. They explain endlessly just to feel understood. But the ones who actually command attention, they don't yell. They don't plead. They sit in silence. And somehow, they still control the room. The man who speaks less, but carries weight when he does, is the one everyone watches. Not because he's louder, but because he's centered. That's not some poetic idea. It's survival. It's strategy. That's real power. This is where Stoicism steps in, not as some ancient philosophy carved in marble, but as a relentless mindset built for men in the modern world. It's not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. Your energy, your reactions, your need to respond. Every time you argue with someone who refuses to understand you, you give away your power. You hand them a map to your insecurities. But when you choose silence, you flip the dynamic. They show their hand. You stay unreadable. They panic. You analyze. They unravel. You calculate. Ask yourself, how many times have you walked away from a conversation thinking, why did I say all that? That feeling of over-explaining, of being exposed, that's not strength. That's emotional leakage. You gave them access they didn't earn. And this is the trap. Most people aren't listening to understand. They're listening to control. And silence? It makes them uncomfortable. Why? Because it leaves them alone with their own guilt, their own noise, their own fear, and when you don't react, you become a mirror. They see themselves, and they don't like what's reflected. That's your edge. Your silence becomes a message in itself, a message that says, I'm not here to entertain this, I'm beyond it. This video isn't about becoming louder, it's about becoming more dangerous. Because true danger doesn't scream, it waits, it watches, and when it moves, it strikes with precision. If that's the man you want to become, this is where it starts. With mastery over self. You can't control the world if you haven't learned to sit still in your own darkness. I'm not talking about avoiding discomfort. I'm talking about sitting in it, owning it, learning from it. Every trigger, every impulse, every emotional outburst, that's the battleground. And it starts by not reacting. Think back. Every time you lost your temper in traffic, snapped back at a text, or tried to defend your pride after a passive insult, who actually won? Did you gain respect? Or did you just hand them access to your emotions? That's not power, that's exposure. The modern world has taught men that being reactive equals strength. But here's the truth. Real power doesn't flinch. Real power doesn't react. Real power doesn't chase applause. It waits, it prepares, it builds, and when it speaks, the whole room goes silent. Not because it's loud, but because it's undeniable. Would you like me to continue with point 2, speak less, dominate more? You said, continue till 5. ChatGPT said, absolutely. Here's the continuation of your motivational script, covering points 2 through 5 with the same powerful, grounded tone. 2. Speak less, dominate more. There's a reason why kings don't argue, generals don't explain. Real leaders don't broadcast their intentions, they observe, they calculate. And when they speak, it's not to convince, it's to declare. In a world that rewards noise, the man who speaks with intention becomes a weapon. While others fill the air with opinions, he makes every word count. Why? Because he understands this. The more you say, the more they learn your weaknesses. Mystery is power, ambiguity is leverage. If they can't read you, they can't control you. But if you're always talking, justifying, proving, explaining, they'll study your patterns, they'll find your cracks, they'll know exactly where to press. So practice this. Speak when it matters, not to be heard, but to be felt. Learn to use silence like a blade. Let others fill the room with noise and ego. You observe. You own the space with your presence, not your volume. Because when you learn to speak less, you start to move more deliberately, with control, with precision. That's when people stop interrupting you, not out of respect, but out of intimidation. They don't know what you're thinking, and that unsettles them. Let them guess. You're not here to be predictable. You're here to be undeniable. 3. Control is an illusion. Influence is real. Here's the truth they don't tell you. You can't control people. Not your friends, not your partner, not your enemies. Control is a myth. It's a trap that weak men fall into. But influence? That's real. Influence doesn't require force. It doesn't need you to chase. It's built in silence. It's built in consistency. It's built when your actions align with your words. And your words are rare but powerful. You don't influence people by reacting to every disrespect. You influence them by being so composed, so certain of who you are, that they adjust themselves around your presence. Let your discipline do the talking. Let your work ethic echo louder than your voice ever could. Let your detachment be your dominance. You want control? Start with yourself. Wake up on time. Do the hard things without applause. Keep your circle tight and your standards higher. That's real influence. The world bends for the man who bends for no one. 4. The enemy is emotional reactivity. You will be tested. People will push your buttons. Some on purpose, others out of their own chaos. But here's the difference between a strong man and a reactive one. The strong man doesn't flinch. The reactive man, he exposes everything. They say one careless reaction can cost you 10 years of building. It's true. That angry text, that public outburst, that revenge move, all of it comes from emotional slavery, being ruled by your mood instead of your mission. Stop taking things personally. Most of what people say about you has nothing to do with you. It's their own projection. their own insecurity. Let them talk. Let them judge. You stay focused. Think of your emotions like a battlefield. Every time you react, you lose ground. But every time you pause, breathe, and respond with intention, you win. Not just over others, over yourself. Your ability to remain unshaken is what separates you from the crowd. 5. They will test you. Let them understand this. The moment you choose silence, discipline, and presence over noise, chaos, and reaction, people will test you. Friends will call you cold. Partners will try to provoke you. Strangers will bait you. Why? Because your composure makes them uncomfortable. It's a mirror to their own lack of control. Let them test you. They need to see if your stillness is real, or just an act. And that's your opportunity. Not to prove, but to reveal. Reveal that you don't rise to every bait. Reveal that your peace is not negotiable. Reveal that their validation means nothing when you already validate yourself. People respect what doesn't flinch, what doesn't chase, what doesn't beg. When they realize they can't manipulate your mood, they either evolve or they leave. Either way, you win. You are not here to fit in. You are here to set the standard. This world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more men chasing clout, drowning in distractions, or collapsing under pressure. It needs men who move with purpose. Men who are still when others are frantic. Men who don't just talk about power, they live it quietly. So stop explaining yourself. Stop waiting to be understood. Stop lowering your frequency to meet people who refuse to rise. Build in silence, improve in shadows. Move like thunder, heard but rarely seen. Be the man they can't figure out, the one they can't read, the one they can't shake, the one they whisper about in rooms you're not even in. Because real presence doesn't announce itself. It arrives and everything shifts. Now go. Stay sharp, stay quiet, stay dangerous.